Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for November 14th, 2024. It's season 3, episode 319. I'm actually trying to hash out little glitches still here. Again, I try out different equipment, and it's causing headaches sometimes. Well, anyway... let's get into today's articles. We're going to be talking about... Oh, no. Let's do this. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com, so go over to ohmtown.com and sign up. Become a citizen. Follow us here on Twitch and here on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe. Make a comment or 2 or 15. Go back. We've got over 1,500 episodes now. There's a Patreon, Discord, TikTok, all over the place. Anyway, even looking at Trovo. I don't even know what Trovo... I mean, I've seen it, but anyway. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com, so go and check it out and come on back in a little bit. See ya. All right, everybody. Let's get going. So what we're going to end up talking about today is The Onion buys Inforwars. Oh boy, you should know this recipe. Super high IQs for free. Today's Time Machine episode is a doozy. DNA to identify mystery illnesses. Ma! I caught a US Submarine. Oh, Black Hawks fighting forest fires, a bizarre animal in Kentucky. Maryland reduces emissions as large as 2 basketball courts, and a 100-year-old contraption, which is, I'm heading towards that age, and I too am feeling like a 100-year-old contraption. I've no idea what's going on, but YouTube says that I'm not streaming. Oh, good God, what is going on? All right. So, yeah, that's interesting. Well, luckily I post this stuff twice anyway, so we're going to fix it in post over on YouTube's because, well, YouTube doesn't really like Ohmtron anyway. If you want all of today's show notes, they're already in Ohmtron, and you can hit !NSN in the chat over on Twitch. I'm going to try it over on YouTube real quick and see if maybe it likes Ohmtron today. I logged in to verify everything was connected, and it works over on Twitch twice, but not over on YouTube. Yeah. And Ohmtron is connected. It's actually connected. It's just not paying any attention, I guess. Or I should say YouTube isn't allowing it to talk. So whatever. Let's get into the news. The very first article is over here on in the continuity report. That's where Gatherer aggregated it into. It actually is from Variety. We always give credit where credit is due. And it says here, The Onion buys Infowar in bankruptcy auction. We don't really talk about politics. We do talk about social aspects of things, but so don't get me wrong when I'm talking about this. Politics are very personal, and while I'll talk about the societal and socioeconomic and economic, business and technology, science-related aspects of it, you do you when it comes to politics. So Infowars, the far-right conspiracy theory outlet driven into bankruptcy over lies founder Alex Jones spread in the Sandy Hook massacre, has a new owner, the satirical news site The Onion. Yeah, that's true. The Onion, whose parent company is Global Tetrahedron, declined to disclose how much it paid for Infowars assets in the Chapter 7 bankruptcy liquidation auction. This all stems from the lawsuit that was leveraged against him and Infowars in general. Yeah, I'm just going to move on from this, other than Todd Spangler put the article together for Variety. And so they say this is an update So this is a time machine episode. So tomorrow we're going to find out that at 7 a.m. there was an update to today's article. How about that for messing with your mind? Infowars, was sold, and it says here the Connecticut families of the victims of the Sandy Hook school shooting had sued Jones and Infowars parent company Free Speech Systems LLC backed the bid by The Onion to purchase Infowars intellectual property, including its website, customer lists, inventory, certain social media accounts, and the production equipment used to put Jones on the air. The Connecticut families agreed to forego a portion of the recovery to increase the overall value of The Onion's bid, enabling its success, according to lawyers for the families. They really wanted The Onion to own this because it is so apropos for the timeline that we are in. It says Every Town for Gun Safety, a nonprofit organization dedicated to ending gun violence, founded in the aftermath of the Sandy Hook shooting, inked a multi-year ad deal on the satirical iteration of Infowars. During the relaunch period, Every Town will serve as the exclusive advertiser, according to The Onion. Good gosh. I'm not quite sure what happened to this timeline, but we have diverged down silly. So from the sublime to the ridiculi, as once was said. Anyway, won't go through this line by line, but it says there was a $1.4 billion verdict in the defamation lawsuit against Jones, who is just batshit crazy. So let's move on. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Don't go away. Don't go away. The article after this one is really just amazing. Amazing. So this person is a chef with over 15 years of experience, and everyone should know this recipe for twice baked potatoes. There's no tie-in to the previous article. Non Sequitur News is basically predicated on the idea that we are hopping from one topic to another and there isn't any real connection to any of it. And it's kind of how I live my life. And I thought that it was apropos to change the name to Non Sequitur News. It used to be ohmTown Daily News Show, but that really didn't embody it. Everything is at ohmtown.com. All the news that we see gets aggregated into ohmTown. Just a little snippet, like the headline and a little bit of the article itself, just enough to allow me to manage my information overload. And so then I made it public. So go and enjoy ohmtown.com. Real easy to sign up. I don't track anything. I don't have ads. In fact, I'm missing some graphics because I purged a bunch of stuff and that went with it. So I have to reattach some graphics, but don't let that stop you. Anyway, as an experienced chef and cooking instructor, this article is saying, it's not me, it's over at Business Insider. They say that they love this take on twice baked potatoes. The recipe calls for a mascarpone and chives, but no sour milk or no milk or sour cream. The side dish can be served straight out of the oven or made ahead of time. And they reiterate that they've been a personal chef or a professional chef for over 15 years. And when I see everybody should know this recipe, I take notice because I love cooking from time to time. It's a place that I like to visit, but I don't want to live there. And so I usually go for easy, not complex, not long-term, 2 hours of cooking stuff. In fact, I'm into brewing beer and mead and ciders, and I don't like having a brew day that is 6 hours long and ungodly amounts of time cleaning up and stowing away a bunch of stuff. And so that's why I actually bought iGulus instead of having a brew kettle and all of this other stuff, because it takes just so damn long and there's so much stuff involved. And I appreciate a good beer that I want to customize. I want to make it the way that I want it. Same thing with ciders, same thing with meads. And it's just drop dead simple. So we'll be talking about that more as time goes on, because it's a show that I actually want to spin up. that focuses on extract brewing. And hopefully in time, I'll be able to spin up a distillery and a brewery, but we'll see. We'll see if that ever happens. Not litigation, but laws prevent anybody from doing distillation in any place, really. You have to have an industrial park, basically, to brew, unless you're on a farm nowadays. Not brew, but distill. Anyway, let's get into this article. Again, distracted, non sequitur, blah, blah, blah. So Alyssa Fitzgerald over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together, and essentially you mash up some potatoes. You hollow out the skins, and then you put it back in, and you bake it. So it says the side dish can be served straight out of the oven or made ahead of time. I like using an air fryer, so this looks like it's ripe for air fryer. And so now I've got to go and get some baked potatoes. It says from flaky. I merged together crispy and flaky. Anyway, frisky. That's awesome. So from the crispy, flaky outer shell to the creamy, rich interior that created one perfect bite, the author says that they were instantly hooked. The side dish is individually pre-portioned, for ease of serving. Oh yeah, just got a message. The sentient AI is on location, but texting and sending messages. Nonetheless, yes, frisky potatoes. I agree. So here's their go-to recipe for twice baked potatoes with mascarpone and chives. So I'm all over this. I love this. Russet potatoes are ideal since they mash well and are a good size. You just you're gonna have to bake them, so you have to clean them and then bake them, put them in oil, soften them up. So the filling for these twice baked potatoes has two notable tweaks from the classic recipes. There's no added milk, and it calls for mascarpone instead of sour cream. And that was the thing that I was like, what? This is going to be amazing. So the rich cream cheese made with heavy cream mascarpone has a high fat content, usually around 60 to 75%. It gives the mashed interior extra depth and creamy lusciousness. Oh yeah, creamy lusciousness. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble doing that kind of stuff. Anyway, fresh chives are intimidating. They're so delicate that a dull knife will tear right through them. You need to make sure that you use them all up before they go bad. Dried chives are a revelation. Yeah, you can throw them in there. It'll suck some of the moisture out. They'll rehydrate, but you won't have to worry about keeping anything absolutely fresh. You can use them in mashes and sauces or garnish soups and broths with them. You can even add a sprinkle to classic dishes like cacio e pepe. Basically, it's pasta with pepper. Or throw them into marinades and salad dressings on the fly. Possibilities are endless. So the final product is a versatile, delicious side dish that reheats exceptionally well. I agree. That looks like it would be amazing in an air fryer. So anyway, they have instructions, directions of the ingredients and instructions on how to make it. And so follow the link through ohmTown and go check it out. But I'm going to move on. So this one, okay. So you saw a big red potato on the first article, and now you're baking some potatoes, and now you're going to see something that's probably going to make you go, ugh. And that is Elon Musk's new department seeks super high IQ staff for unpaid jobs. And if you have a super high IQ, you're probably not going to be chomping at the bit for an unpaid job. Musk said on Thursday that compensation is zero for the revolutionaries who will advise on cuts to the federal budget. So yes, the people who are really interested in cutting the government, which is something that I've been talking to people about for years and years, basically balkanization and marginalizing, hobbling the federal government in particular has been an aspiration, but it's not a domestic aspiration, mind you. but it's going to have massive social, economic, technology, science impact. And it's already starting. So the article is over at cnbc.com by David Ingram. And they say that the I don't know what you want to call him. Anyway, this goofy Department of Government Efficiency, which doesn't exist. And if you want to talk about government efficiency, you don't spin up a new org to do it when you have an Office of Budget, so of Management and Budget. So you basically have the ability to facilitate change if you're going to do it, but it needs to be responsibly done and not destroy the ongoing concern of government. Not unless you want to turn it into an oligarchy or well, I'll just leave it at that. So they say we need super high IQ small government revolutionaries willing to work 80 plus hours per week on unglamorous cost cutting, the so-called Department of Government Efficiency said in a post on Twitter. This is coming from a billionaire that has gotten nothing but grants from the federal government. The reason why SpaceX exists, the reason why even Tesla still exists, is because a last-minute reprieve from the federal government gave a massive amount of money to SpaceX. And now it's just an ongoing concern. Because of the amount of money and the fact that it was sucked away by Musk. So now it's just entrenched, but it only exists because of people who dreamed of doing great things while turning somebody who I think is just, insane. But anyway, into a multi-billionaire that's in control of the entire space program now. Because NASA basically does some research, but it all gets funneled through SpaceX out to the ISS and space in general. So how somebody can spin up a Department of Government Efficiency and then ask basically for people to be free, you're not going to get super high IQ people. You're just going to get these people who think that small government is the way to go, not realizing the full impact of what government does for society. So Musk is the CEO of SpaceX, as well as a bunch of other things, yet he has the ability to play games and a bunch of other things. I mean, give me a break. It's everybody else that's doing the job. Anyway, has $3.8 billion in federal contracts right now. $3.8 billion in contracts with the federal agencies this year. So how many of those are going to be cut, right? Oh no, those are the important ones. So they're never going to get touched. Anyway, this dipshit thing is called Doge because nothing is original from this wingnut. So anyway, good luck to me and many other people. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. A diagnostic test uses DNA to identify mystery illnesses. This advanced diagnostic test, which was developed at the University of California, San Francisco, can detect pathogens like viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites at the root of different illnesses. As of now, it's not FDA approved and isn't meant to replace existing tests. However, its effectiveness seems promising as it could provide answers to those experiencing quote-unquote mystery illnesses. I love the idea of this. Again, this is the kind of research that is done in universities. It's typically grant funded and federally funded, not private. Although it might have a private component in the sense that there is a technology exchange between three main players. That is the federal government, the private agency that will bring it to market, and the institution wherein it is created at the fundamental research level, University of California, San Francisco. Again, a lot of people don't even freaking understand this mechanic, this process. And again, you know, this whole thing, all of this is going to come screeching to a halt. So the article by Sammy Caramella is over at vice.com, and it says here, this advanced diagnostic test was developed at University of California, San Francisco. One of the recent studies found that the test could identify neurological infections like meningitis and encephalitis using samples of spinal fluid. In fact, the test had an 86% diagnostic rate of neurological infections. Furthermore, it was even able to identify the pathogens that led to such infections. So this thing is amazing. It says, unfortunately, this test costs around $3,000 per sample, and less than 10 labs routinely use it. So apparently it's in existence for a while, though, right? Our test was used to identify the cause of a specific fungus, Fusarium solani, from one of the early patients who had become symptomatic. I said Dr. Charles Chu, a professor of laboratory medicine and infectious diseases at UCSF and senior author of the new study. Traditionally, it's been used as a test of last resort, but that's primarily because of issues involving, for instance, the cost of the test, the fact that it's only available in specialized reference laboratories, and it also is quite laborious to run. So this process, though, could lead to a cheaper and cheaper solution as time goes on. That is the benefit of technology. It evolves and gets better, more efficient, more effective. The only problem is greed. This thing could pay for itself and have profit at $3,000 per sample. I don't know what the profit margin is, but what ends up happening is people, some MBA, some, you know, I don't know. I always, when greed is involved, that's all it is. Some greedy bastard. That is what I refer to them. So some greedy bastard is going to sit there and go, well, I see the benefit of this, because if your life is dependent on this, if your way of life is depending on this, or your quality of life and the world around you, your family and everyone around you can benefit, then you have no bargaining power. Of course, you're going to pay whatever it is. That's why I don't understand why people are so happy about the cost of medicine, particularly in the United States. You know, they hate it, but then they sit there and have no problem just embracing and accepting the status quo. $3,000 per sample for a fundamental level of assessing if somebody has an illness and even what it is, would be less expensive if we would actually just make it competitive. You know, this fundamental research was done not just by, you know, these people, and it was done in a vacuum with their own cold hard cash. No, I guarantee you taxpayer dollars were put into this, either at the state or federal or both levels, and made it happen. And so why isn't this less expensive? Why isn't it facilitated to make it more available to the general public? But nope, there's going to be, again, some greedy bastard that says, no, let's put a zero on there. Anyway, pretty cool. They don't actually go into any real detail about this, but it is a recent study. It's in Nature, at nature.com, but they don't even talk about it really in there. They don't even, I mean, they link to the article, but anyway, would love to talk more about it, but I'd have to do some more due diligence. Let's keep on moving though. It is a time machine episode, so I only have an hour and I'm about halfway through, so I'll speed up. This next article is over in Non Sequitur News. A Norwegian fisherman accidentally caught a US submarine in his nets. I titled this section, "Ma, I caught a submarine." So the Norwegian fisherman caught a US submarine in his nets. The USS Virginia's propellers got tangled in the nets, reports said, dragging them out to sea. The nets, not the sub. The US submarine has sent several vessels into nearby waters in recent months in tensions with Russia, so that the US Navy has been sending subs out to let the world know where we are, I guess, just to, hey, you know, we're in the area. We're not ignoring anybody. But a Norwegian fisherman apparently caught a US sub. I just picture them on the edge of a deck, you know, holding up the submarine by its rudder. So this is the USS Virginia, seen here in Maine, that got tangled up in a Norwegian fishing net. Kind of makes you wonder. So Mia Jankowicz over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. They got an unusual wow, I got all tied up there. Harold Engen was delivering a catch of halibut, not for the halibut, on porpoise, to his home near the Melangen Fjord in Norway when he got an unusual message. The Norwegian broadcaster NRK News, the Fighting NRK, reported he was told that the propellers of a submarine had become entangled in his nets and had dragged them 2 nautical miles, or about 2.3 miles, out to sea. The 377-foot nuclear-powered USS Virginia had been on its way from the port of Tromsø, maybe, is that how you pronounce it? The Norwegian Coast Guard confirmed to NRK that one of its vessels, which was escorting the submarine, had helped cut it loose from the nets. So now you know what it takes to stop a submarine. Just sink some nets. And although they'd have to be really big nets, and I don't know what the USS Virginia was doing, but I don't know. Maybe she likes nets. Nobody was hurt in the incident. The investigation into the cause of the incident is still ongoing. I can tell you what the cause of the incident was. The submarine drove into a net. Net is here. Submarine went into the net. Anyway, I guess if it's the size of a net, it doesn't show up on radar or something. I'm not sure. So the U.S. is an Arctic nation and has enduring security interest in the region, he said. He being Hawkins, I think. Yes. Lieutenant Pearson Hawkins. Anyway, adding that the Sixth Fleet appreciated Norway's support to U.S. submarine deployments to deter and defend the increasingly complex security environment of the High North. The High North. Anyway, then they deviate and they talk about other places, other things. Let's keep on going, though. How about autonomous Blackhawks are fighting forest fires now? Aerial firefighter is the coolest job in the world, if you ask the author over at Jalopnik. These skilled pilots fly ludicrously low to the ground to pick up water and dump it on burning woodland to save communities and wildlife. The livelihoods of these awesome people are under threat, however, as an autonomous Black Hawk helicopter has just entered the playing field. This is autonomous? Owen Bellwood. So, okay. I'm not so worried about the job if it keeps somebody safe and they can fly a helicopter from the ground and not endanger somebody, because these crash from time to time. I would rather an empty helicopter crash than go, you know what? To save your job, we're going to risk your life and your livelihood. You know what? Yeah, because I really enjoy having to say I'm sorry to your family because something mechanical happened on the helicopter. But, you know, we want to save your job. The livelihood of those awesome people are under threat. Yeah, they may be awesome people and their job may be awesome as somebody might perceive it, but for crying out loud, if you can automate it, then teach them how to fly it and let them be the pilots. So a test program carried out by the American helicopter maker Sikorsky and autonomous flying company Rain has shown off what self-flying helicopters are capable of, reports Auto Evolution, which is probably somebody that we should be paying attention to. The test, which follows a year-long collaboration between the two companies, saw a Black Hawk helicopter fly for 30 minutes and drop water without a pilot taking the controls. So it's a fully autonomous? No way in hell is it fully autonomous. The whole showcase was carried out by Sikorsky's Connecticut base, where the autonomous chopper dropped 3 buckets of water to put out a propane-fueled fire that measured around 12 inches, as Auto Evolution explains. Quote, the scenario called for the helo to be commanded to take off and head out on its mission using a tablet. The Matrix system guided it while searching for the fire, while the Rain supplied solution, whose details were not announced, adjusted the flight path to keep it keep the Black Hawk on track. There's a keep it. It just says to keep it Black Hawk on track. I don't know if that's a turn of phrase in the Black Hawk industry, but anyway. Even during crosswinds that reached up to 10 knots. So it flew with a Bambi bucket dangling beneath it, where it could drop water once it located the fire. 3 successive water drops were performed, and they helped put out the propane fuel fire ring 12 inches across that sent 6-inch flames into the air. So it took 3 buckets to knock out a 12-inch ring fire. Okay, the cost of operation is kind of high. But it's amazing that it is, if it was fully autonomous. But this is in this setting at the end of a tarmac, it seems, etc., etc. But it's the first time, so I dig this, and I would rather. Oh, and look. Watching everything unfold was a crew of onlookers of all kinds of bigwigs in emergency response, including NASA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, DARPA. Those 3 are the ones that funded this. Los Angeles County Fire Department and Orange County Fire Authority. You will not get the kind of money from your average citizen that's not getting taxed into oblivion to pay for this kind of thing, because you need mass taxes to pay for services and fundamental research. That's how it works. Otherwise, you're looking at, never mind. We'll get there, right? I've been talking about this for 15 years. I've been talking about it beyond that for 30 plus. So we'll have a reckoning here in a minute. Anyway, the assembled masses were apparently impressed with the autonomous chopper, which reportedly adjusting its course on the fly to deal with crosswinds and so on. So pretty cool. I dig this. Now let's move on to the next article, which is a bizarre animal on the loose in Kentucky captured on security cam. And all I can say is I was hot. I was hungry. I was visiting somebody in Kentucky. I guess I got caught on an animal cam. So home security cameras has filmed a wallaby on the loose in the United States, a long way from the native country of Australia. So apparently this is it is a wallaby. I'm going to hit play. I don't know how loud this is going to be. Oh, it's muted. So there's a wallaby right there. Brian Dillon over at newsweek.com put the article together. The heck is a wallaby doing in? It's probably looking for those other 25 monkeys. But this is in Kentucky. South Carolina has the monkeys still running around. Anyway, it says here that Lexi Mullins shared a collection of clips showing a wallaby jumping around in their front yard. The animal, with his long tail and perky ears, can be seen bouncing on its hind legs beside the cars parked in front of Mullins' house. The marsupial was spotted both during daytime and at night, curiously looking around the area. Well, it's not going to be afraid of humans. The footage was captured on a number of occasions between November 9th and November 12th. Maybe it'll stay away. It's been viewed over 100,000 times. I guess that's important. Anyway, wallabies belong to the family as kangaroos and quokkas, which are also native to Australia. It says here this wallaby's owners had the proper permits at the time the animal was transported from Tennessee to Kentucky. So I guess wallabies are not prohibited to be owned in the state. Interesting. So now they know that it, well, somebody knows, right? You don't need to know, what a wallaby is beyond that. They actually go into greater detail about that they're native to Eastern Australia and eastern coast of Australia and parts of South Australia. So Australia and the Australian island of Tasmania. All right, let's keep going. This next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Study reveals Maryland reduced emissions more than any other state in recent years. Good on you, Maryland. Between 2005 and 2022, Maryland reduced its greenhouse gas emissions by a greater percentage than any other state, according to a national study. So I wonder why, though. How? Moving to wind? So Christine Condon from Baltimore Sun put the article together. It's published over at phys.org. Per capita, Maryland has the third most reductions, 42% behind Washington, D.C. and Georgia. The study, which evaluated the Federal Environmental Protection Agency's database of greenhouse gas inventory, has determined that Maryland reduced its globe warming emissions 36% in the 18-year span. Washington, D.C. took second place, with Maine and New Hampshire close behind. So per capita, Maryland had the third most reductions. But up here it says the most. I guess I don't know, maybe I'm reading that wrong. In Maryland and several other states, many of the reductions have come thanks to the retirement of coal-fired power plants. To achieve further reductions in their carbon footprints, states will have to turn away from fossil fuels in other sectors. Good luck. Yeah, I have a feeling that there's going to be a whole lot of reversal, such as transportation and building, heating, cooling, according to the report. Yeah, so I guess they're getting rid of coal-fired power plants and in Maryland, at least. So according to the study, 44 states in the district saw emission reductions in the study period, whereas 6 saw increases, with the largest jumps coming from North Dakota, Idaho, and South Dakota. So the Dakotas, they're basically saying, we don't give a shit. So overall, the United States reduced emissions 15% during the time frame. But I hear people saying to me, and I've had this conversation before, well, everybody else isn't, so we're kind of just screaming into the void, right? Every little bit helps. But, if everyone isn't doing it, then nobody should do it, right? That's how it's supposed to be, I suppose. Maybe. I don't know. The rise of sociopathy. Anyway, by curtailing its usage of fossil fuels and fueling the energy grid increasingly with renewable energy such as wind and solar, Maryland aims to reduce its output of carbon dioxide and other emissions which trap heat in the atmosphere, causing the planet to warm. Don't get me wrong, though. I understand that I have my own observations about wind and solar, geothermal, hydro. All of those are not defensible from outside forces, whereas, to a greater extent, nuclear and coal and natural gas are defensible. You can actually position them in places where there is defensibility, whereas firing something from the air can destroy an entire solar array, multiple wind generators, geothermal, etc., hydro, etc. Anything that is obviously visible and obviously like a spinning part or a sheet of glass, all of that, good luck. It is not defensible. So there are some issues, but I am a proponent of nuclear power. So anyway, the state achieved a previous goal ahead of schedule, which required Maryland to cut emissions by 30% by 2020, also based on 2006 levels. According to MDE analysis, policies already in place in Maryland will reduce emissions 51% based on the 2006 levels by 2031. So just a few short years away, and Maryland will apparently be 51% lower in emissions. Let's keep on going. We've got 2 more articles, and then we're going to stop, reset, and probably have our November 15th show in about an hour, hour and a half. We'll see. It depends on how fast we can reset. So this next article is scientists just discovered a sea creature as large as 2 basketball courts, and here's what it looks like. I'm gonna jump straight on over to Vox. It says it's the biggest known animal of its kind, and Benji Jones over at Vox.com put the article together. So what does it look like? A view from above the newly discovered mega coral. Oh, it's a coral. Oh, okay. In the Solomon Islands. I think it's going to be a coral, right? So roughly the size of 2 basketball courts. It's neither a whale nor a giant squid. It's a single piece of coral. Oh, that is a chonky one there, huh? Isn't it? Mega coral is so large it dwarfs the diver alongside it. Interesting. On Wednesday, a team of researchers and filmmakers exploring the Solomon Islands revealed that what they found, what they claim is the world's largest individual coral colony. The coral, a communal organism comprising millions of animals called polyps, is 34 meters wide and 32 meters long, and so large that it can be seen from space. Typical coral reef is made of many different coral colonies, most of which are genetically distinct, whereas this is just one individual. A new photo shared by the research team, the coral, a species known as Pavona clavis, looks like a lumpy brown mound covered in knobs. Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, we'll move on. Let's go on to the last article for tonight, and this one is over on the Mobile channel. Historians say they've solved the mystery of a curious 100-year-old contraption discovered in storage. Staffers at the Dorchester County Historical Society in Maryland is the star of the show. Were baffled by an unusual machine, so they asked the public to help in determining its purpose. It looks like a press to me. Huh. So Sarah Kuda over at Smithsonian Magazine or SmithsonianMag.com put the article together. And it says the machine features a ceramic countertop and 2 parallel rollers, one that's covered with small nubs. Those look like bolts. So what is it? Oh, it might be like a planer. If this is powered, and it looks like it's powered by a motor, this looks like it might be a planer. So it like chops off like a shredder. But let's see. Historians in a small town in Maryland have spent the last few weeks puzzling over an unusual contraption that's been in storage for years. They even asked the public for help. Now they say they finally cracked it. The strange artifact is a mechanical beaten biscuit maker used to make a type of dense baked good that was historically popular in the American South. What? So I hope they have one that actually is functional. The device sits on a ceramic countertop and features 2 elongated metal cylinders that sit parallel to one another. The bottom cylinder is smooth like a rolling pin, while the top cylinder is dotted with protruding hexagonal nubs. I suppose they're spaced the right way to create little biscuits, little holes. It looks like it comes down on the other roller, so in recent years, it says the gadget has a relatively modern motor, but all of the other pieces are around 100 years old. It's been sitting in storage since the 1990s. Records suggest that another historical society in Delaware donated a similar machine, but they do not offer any insights about the donation. Wow, what a contraption. It really is a contraption. Wow. So meanwhile, online followers shared their own theories about the contraption. Maybe it's used to pull taffy or to wring excess moisture out of freshly washed clothes. Other users suggested it might have helped soften leather or tenderize meat. But apparently it says we potentially think that it was a Maryland beaten biscuit maker, Phillips told WBOC's Lauren Miller in late October. It was created by a man who was trying to help his aunt with the business, and the belief is that this would have helped beat the air out of dough as the biscuits were being created. Beaten biscuits were a type of baked goods with roots in the American South. They're often made with flour, salt, water. Biscuits. The biscuits have a firm, crackery texture, like hardtack. Click, click. I wish I had hardtack right now. Anyway, they were made by beating the dough on a stump with an axe, per WBOC. That's horrible. These things had to have been horrible, but apparently not. But they had sugar in it, so sugar and lard. So, I guess maybe it would be nice, but that is some hell of a contraption. So did anybody actually, it says people fell in love with her country ham and beaten biscuits, according to the State Historical Society of Missouri. She, Annie Fisher, an entrepreneurial black cook. Really? Is that? Okay. Annie Fisher, an entrepreneurial black cook living in Columbia, Missouri at the turn of the 20th century, became a bit of a celebrity for her delicious biscuits. She catered events of all sizes. Former Columbia residents living in New York, Denver, and Los Angeles placed orders for her biscuits and fruitcake. This is the turn of the 20th century, and she catered to events of all sizes. Former Columbia residents living in New York, Denver, and Los Angeles placed orders for her biscuits and fruitcake. That's a hell of a delivery. These things had to have been, vacuum packed or something to survive going from Columbia, Missouri to Los Angeles, Denver, and New York. Okay. That's pretty amazing. Anyway, their theory was supported by the fact that Cambridge, the town where the Historical Society is located, was once home to a beaten biscuit bakery, per WBOC. Beaten biscuit bakery. If nobody creates a business called Beaten Biscuit Bakery, we are on the wrong timeline. Anyway, pretty cool. It says that it was confirmed to be the same machine that he brought here from a previous home in 1992, says this Phillips person. So I guess Maryland has a deep history of making beaten biscuits. Yep, there was even a Maryland beaten biscuit brand, but here in Cambridge, there was also a bakery called Camper Sisters Bakery that made beaten biscuits as well. I've almost read this entire article, but there's pictures and all kinds of other stuff in here that you might enjoy. So definitely follow the link. It's available through the Twitch chat. If you type in !NSN, all of the articles will pop up there. You can follow the links over to ohmTown. They'll be in the show notes on YouTube and the podcast. So that's it. So I'm going to turn on the beaten biscuit maker, and that's going to bring us back to the front page of ohmtown.com and November 14th news. So that's it. We're done for now, but we're going to be back probably in about an hour. Got to reset and let the time machine cool off before we fire things back up again. So see you later. I want my beaten biscuit beater, something like that.